Is your heart blocked? So I did a video last time about being stuck with your manifestation, about going from your head space into your heart space. If you haven't seen it, I'll post in the link below. And I talked about the importance of being in your heart space, of being in a space to where you get out of your head, you get out of the conscious mind, and you go down into your heart space to be able to listen to yourself, to be able to figure out who you are. I'm Sabrina with Begin Being. I'm here in California. I just got through doing a live training, a live event in Newport Beach. I'm a trainer of NLP, Neurolinguistic programming, and I also teach Huna, which is like a esoteric Hawaiian, like an ancient Hawaiian energy techniques. And so I travel a lot. I travel and I go to different amazing places, and I get to do things like be at the beach and have a fire. And these are two of my favorite things, is being able to connect with the fire and being able to connect with the beach. And there are times when you get to going and going so fast and moving so fast that I think sometimes we forget to be able to connect with ourselves. And sometimes it even goes beyond that, because when we're busy and we're, just continuously going, if it's just that, then we can do things like what I'm doing today, which is taking some time off. And I know you might be thinking like, wait a minute, Sabrina, you're filming a video. How are you taking some time off? Well, I really love doing this. So to me, this is time off, because I love being able to just share knowledge and to be able to help everybody else grow. So people help me grow. And, I watch other YouTubers like the School of Greatness, for example, that podcast, which is what I mentioned in the other video, which is kind of a part of, I've been thinking a lot about being in the heart space in general anyway. I've also been doing a lot of work with masculine and feminine energy therapy. And in fact, I have a whole assessment. I can talk about that in a minute. But I have really been thinking a lot about being in your heart space, about connecting with your heart. I teach that to my students at Huna, about being able to connect with your heart and being able to be in that space. And there's sometimes when it goes beyond just forgetting to take the time for you. So like right now, I'm taking the time for me. I'm at the ocean, one of my favorite places in the entire world. Just being at the ocean in general. And I love fire. Like, I love how it sounds. I love its smell. I love the heat coming from it. I love cooking food on it. It's just something that really lights me up. So for me, when I'm, wanting to get back into my heart space, some of the different things that I do is be out in nature, is meditate, is do things that bring me joy and fun. Sometimes though, it goes deeper. Sometimes our heart is like completely blocked. We've completely lost and disconnected from our heart space. And sometimes we don't even really know it. We don't think about it. We can become so closed off. And, different things can happen, like in childhood, for example. Maybe your childhood just wasn't like the best. Maybe you had abusive parents. Maybe it could be just something as simple as parents getting a divorce at a particular time in your childhood that was, I don't want to use the word traumatic, but it was just very difficult for you to be able to handle and to process. Sometimes, some kids, they go through like something like a divorce and they're like, oh yeah, it happened. It was hard and it was okay. And then other times, certain things will happen, and to that individual, it becomes like a traumatic event, no matter what it is. It could be something very, very simple, very, very, almost, some people might look at you and go like, that's it? You should see my childhood. But here's the thing, it's important to that person. To that person, whatever that event was, kind of started to close them off to their heart space, kind of started to give them that feeling of, ooh, maybe I shouldn't trust people. Maybe I shouldn't allow my heart to be open. And my fires, it just moved, so I want to throw another log on there. And sometimes you just become so blocked or so closed that you think, in order to protect myself, I shouldn't care. And not that you like don't care about others or care about yourself. It's more of like, it's not safe to just be completely open. It's not safe to be vulnerable. It's not safe to allow others to feel into me, allow others to truly know who I am. So in the other video, I talked more about you knowing who you are. In this video, I want to talk more about letting others know who you are, about stepping outside of your comfort zone, about if there's any kind of like fear of, and in the other video, I talked about knowing yourself and knowing who you are meant to be. And I'm going to use this as that video as a little bit of an example. And in that video, I talked a lot about like being a coach, right? So let's say you are a very highly successful business person. You're like in the corporate world. You have an amazing job. You have an amazing house. You have the fancy car. You have all of these things. And for whatever reason, you're not happy. And maybe you're using the tools and techniques in the other video about how to be into your heart space, about how to really hear who you were meant to be. And maybe you hear this message of, Sabrina, you are meant to be a medium. You know, like a medium, someone who can talk with people who have passed. And you're going, yeah, that's cute. Nope, not gonna do that. So in that moment, this particular message might be like so far away from who you think you are, or not necessarily who you think you are, but like the things that you're doing, the things that you're currently doing, the person who like you're currently being. You might get this message. You're like, okay, Sabrina, I watched your last video and I've been doing all the tools and techniques. Or maybe you've, experienced it from someone else. Maybe someone else has said a similar thing. And you're like, okay, I've really been listening to myself. I've really been trying to be like, this is who I'm meant to be. These like, I'm trying to figure myself out. And so then you're at the point where it's now, like, it's not that you don't know anymore, but now it's almost scary. Now there's almost like this fear of, not that I'm not good enough to do it, because that's a totally different thing. So some people I mentioned like in the last video, maybe they're like afraid to take that leap to become like an entrepreneur. Maybe they're afraid to take that leap to say yes to that new relationship. Maybe they're in an amazing relationship and they've been in that relationship for a while and the other person's like, hey, it's about time to kind of, start thinking about that ring. And you're just like scared. What if it doesn't work out? What if it changes us? What if like our relationship's so amazing right now? What if you have that fear of that commitment, right? So sometimes there's a block. There's something that's happening to where we're experiencing a block and we are disconnected from our heart. We feel that we can't take that leap to that next thing. We feel like, okay, I'm getting my messages. I'm hearing what I should be doing, what I need to be doing, who I truly am. I'm hearing who I'm meant to be. So I know the actions that I need to be taking and I can't take them. Like nope, can't do it. When our heart is blocked, well, first of all, if your heart's blocked, you're probably not even able to listen. However, sometimes your source wants you to hear so much that it will throw information at you. You'll find information whether you like it or not, because you're here for a mission. You're here to do something. So again, let's say that you are this top executive at this corporate, USA Corp, right? And all of a sudden, you're getting these messages, you're hearing from different things, You are meant to be a medium, and you're denying it. You're like, no, I am not quitting my job. Everyone will think I've gone crazy. My entire family will stop talking to me. My friends will be like, what are you doing? We need to go shopping right now and like help you because something's going on. In those moments, when that fear comes up, our heart can be blocked. And if our heart's blocked, then it's hard for us to be able to be ourselves. Have you ever been, maybe you're doing something as simple as picking out an outfit. You're finding something to wear and you're putting it on and you're like looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, oh no. What if someone judges me because I'm wearing this? Or what if someone judges me because I'm not wearing like the latest, I don't have the latest purse or the latest, whatever it is. Have you ever been in that moment when you think, oh no, someone might be judging me for this? That is you not being yourself. If it makes you happy to not have the latest purse, if it makes you, if the thought of like being a medium or something, if that thought of like, oh, actually that sounds kind of interesting. Like actually, maybe you've been able to speak with people who have passed on. Maybe, as a child you used to speak to them and have conversations with them. And, maybe now you're like, oh, that was probably in my imagination. I don't think that this is, But if you start thinking back and you're like, that actually kind of made me happy. That actually it felt right. It felt good. Now, I might be using a completely bad example because sometimes for a little kid, it can be kind of scary if you don't know what's going on. And my point is though, what if I'll use a different example. What if you're like, I want to own a crystal shop and I want to start having meditation retreats and I want to go into all of this like metaphysical stuff, for example, or esoteric, and you think, I'm going to get laughed at. That's not you being you. That's not you allowing yourself to be you. That's you allowing other people to judge you. Interestingly, it's not even necessarily that they are judging you. It's you perceiving that they're going to judge you. They might not even judge you. They might even, and who knows, if everybody's used to you being Miss or Mr. or whatever, like corporate America, then they might go, who is this person? What is happening right now? Are you okay? Because they might be so used to you having, or you doing those things to be that person. And so they might question what's happening. However, and in a moment, if they too are involved in that life, in the moment they might go, yeah, Sabrina has totally lost it. Like, I don't know what's going on with her. Like, she has just, I don't know if she hit her head, whatever it might be. And if you start showing up as you, though, not embarrassed, if you start congruently showing up as you, then they will actually start to see you for who you truly are. And you might end up changing their lives. You might end up sparking something within them where they go, wow, Sabrina's actually doing what she wants to now. Look how happy she is. I don't have that happiness. I can't say that I know who I am like she does. And so you might actually help them to think of their own lives in a different way. You might actually inspire them to think of who they truly want to be. Maybe they're perfectly happy though in their corporate life. I mean, some people that's their joy, that brings them joy. But if they are in their joy spot, if they are connected with their heart space, if their heart is open, then no matter what crazy thing you decide to do, move to Mars, who knows? they'll be in support of you. They'll be happy for you. They'll be grateful that you found your love and your joy. So going back to being blocked in our heart, there are some other exercises and stuff that I mentioned in the previous video that applies to this as well. During doing certain meditations, I'll put the link below. But unblocking your heart, a lot of it has to do with letting go of fears, letting go of negative emotions and limiting beliefs. I actually take people through breakthrough sessions. And in those breakthrough sessions, I help people to be able to release limiting beliefs. I help people to be like release stuff like their fears, their things that are just like they think that aren't good enough. I help them be able to release that. So you can go to different people who can help you. You can do different meditation practices. You can spend more time in nature. It's a great way to be able to open up your heart space. And one of the most important things you can do, like right now, today, is start a gratitude practice. Start a gratitude practice, because that starts to help to open up your heart. Because when you say that you're grateful for things, it allows those walls that you might be holding on to so tightly to protect your heart because you want to be safe and you're afraid to let them go. Having gratitude, it's like it makes them porous. It kind of like, okay, it's starting to open up a little bit. Because what that does is it tells you neurologically in your brain and it tells your neurons, there we go, try to say that 5 times fast. It tells them to fire in a different way. You've probably heard, if you're one to like watch these type of videos a lot, that neurons that fire together wire together. So having that gratitude practice tells your neurology what to then pick up more on. So for example, when I finish this video after the sunset, so I'm gonna watch the sunset. After the sunset, then I go back to my hotel, I'm gonna do my gratitude practice. And when I do my gratitude practice, I'm gonna be thankful for being able to, like I said, I travel a lot for my job. And I'm so grateful when I get to go to cities or states or, areas that have access to the ocean, because that's one of my most favorite things in the world. So I'm going to really acknowledge how grateful I am to be here next to the ocean, how grateful I am to be here next to this fire, being able to just feel the heat of it, to be able to connect with the fire element, to be able to connect with the water element, having my feet in the sand, being able to connect with the earth element, having the sun. I said I was going to watch the sunset. So being able to connect with the sun and the earth. And to me, that's bliss. To me, it's something to be extremely grateful for. So when I go back, I'm going to do my gratitude practice, and what that tells my neurology is, okay, she wants more of this because she's grateful for this. And what that also does is it activates our reticular activating system. So our RAS, it's basically, if everyone's experienced this. So if you've ever, for example, like maybe you're wanting to buy this particular brand of car, like a particular like model of car, and you're like, oh, I wonder if I should buy this, or maybe you just bought it. And then all of a sudden, because it's in your mind, you start seeing them everywhere. So all of a sudden, you saw like a couple people maybe driving them, and you were kind of like, maybe you were looking for one because you wanted to maybe purchase it or something. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that person has one, that person has one. And you just start seeing them everywhere. They're in the parking lots, they're all over the road. And it's basically because you told your brain to focus on a particular thing. So when you have that gratitude practice, you're telling your brain to focus on things that bring you that you can be grateful for, that bring you into that gratitude space. So that kind of starts to open up your heart. And I usually end my videos with choose love in all that you do. That is another way to start opening up your heart space, because even if you don't feel like it's safe to accept love, if you don't feel like it's safe to, take anything from anybody else as far as like emotionally and stuff like that, when you start to choose love in your thinking, in your actions, in your attitude, when you start doing things from the heart space of love, that also starts to open up your heart. Sometimes there's times when we get so busy, we get to moving so fast that we're just going. And sometimes we can just do things that end up hurting other people. And we have no clue that we're doing it, none at all. We are just, I've got to get this done, especially like, work environment, if it's like a high stress work environment, or if you maybe have a project deadline, you're just like, nope, I gotta go, we gotta get this done, don't talk to me right now, or, no, do this, you have to do this, you have to do it this way, you gotta do it now. Like, I'm making an executive decision. If there's something like that going on in your life, breathe. Take the time to breathe, because what can end up happening is if we don't take the time to pause, then we can end up hurting someone. Hopefully, we have no intention of hurting that person. And sometimes it can end up happening. I'm sure all of us at some point have made someone cry for some reason or another. And most of the time, hopefully 100% of the time, you didn't mean it. It was not your intention. You didn't wake up in the morning and think, oh, you know what, Jane? I want to make her cry today. That's my goal. This morning, I'm just going to go ahead and make Jane cry. I don't think anybody like wakes up with that thought, unless Jane did something absolutely horrible to you, then maybe you're plotting some sort of revenge. That could possibly be. But if Jane is this wonderful person who, has always been super nice to you, who maybe shows up in the morning at work with a cup of coffee for you, with a smile on her face, I don't think there would be anyone who, taking aside any kind of psychological issues, anyone else would not show up to work thinking, all right, how can I plot to make Jane cry today? What can I do? This is going to be so much fun. Like, no one's going to think that. And there are times, especially sometimes when our heart gets blocked, especially sometimes when we go through something. So I mentioned earlier, sometimes it could be something that happens in childhood. It can also grow throughout our life as well. So sometimes at the end of a relationship, our hearts can be blocked. Sometimes at the end of a relationship, we can think, oh no, I opened my heart to this person, I fell in love with this person, and the relationship ends, and then you like put all of these walls up around your heart and you say, nope, never again. Now, this isn't something you necessarily do consciously. You don't sit there and think, it's not always that you sit there and think like, oh, okay, person broke up with me and I'm not gonna ever love again. Some people will say that consciously. Some people will say, never again, I'm done. Most of the time though, it goes into your unconscious. It goes in so deeply that you don't even know it's there. Same thing with the stuff that happened when I gave the kid example. It's so deep down into the unconscious that you don't even know it's there. Sometimes you don't even know that you have a block. When you don't feel it's safe to be vulnerable, you have a block. That used to actually be me. So I used to think that I could be vulnerable in groups. Like, I thought I was able to be vulnerable in groups. I've been vulnerable like one-on-one, and I realized someone actually pointed it out to me, like, you are a little bit different sometimes in groups. Like, you don't open up in a group like you do when you're like one-on-one with someone you trust. And so that was something I had to work through. That was something that because if you've seen some of my other videos, you know that my childhood was not the best childhood in the world. And from that, I thought that it wasn't safe to be vulnerable. There were things like I wasn't allowed to tell people what my mom did for a living. The people who my mom was around weren't exactly the best people for me to be around as a young girl, as a little girl. And so with that, there was this feeling inside of me that it wasn't safe to be vulnerable. And especially like around people, like around groups and stuff like that. And there was only, certain times when I felt that maybe it was okay to open up a little bit. And when you have that, when you're going through something like that, you can then like block your heart to where you're not opening up. You're not opening up to other people. You're not opening up to yourself. And when your heart is blocked like that, then it's hard to be able to hear it. So those of you who maybe watched my last video and you're like, Sabrina, I'm trying to go down into my heart space. I'm really trying to connect. I'm really trying to listen. I'm really trying to hear. I'm really trying to do all of these things and it's not working. Well, more than likely it's because your heart's blocked. There's something in there to where you feel like it's not okay to be open. It's not okay to listen to my heart. It's not okay to go from my head space on into my heart space. It's not safe. So what do you do about it? Because a lot of my videos are very big on what to do. So sometimes people will tell you like information, like I love learning. I can just digest information all day long. And there becomes a point where it's like, okay, I know I'm supposed to do all these things. I know I'm supposed to be this. I know like all of these different things, but how? How do I do it? How do I change, or how do I use these tools and techniques? So I really appreciate information that I get from like other people and stuff that give and how. So, how to. And so with this particular issue of having that heart blockage, how you start to open up. I'm interrupting this video for just a moment to talk about the masculine and feminine therapy assessment that I have developed. So I've really been doing a lot of research on the masculine and the feminine, and when it's appropriate to be in which one, and when you can be in like a higher vibration or a lower vibration or more of a neutral, and how you can then lead others from the masculine, you can lead others from the feminine. There's been multiple videos on this and will be much more, coming in the future. And with this, I've actually worked with Dr. Patrick Scott, and we've reviewed all of the information in it, and it is now available for you to take absolutely free. Just click on the link in the video and you can actually figure out where you're at in the masculine and feminine, and how you can actually go from a lower vibration to a higher vibration to really be able to be balanced within you, and to go into all of your relationships, all of your conversations, whether that's business or romantic, or maybe even family, but all of those different conversations from the point of operating at your utmost highest, operating at your peak of excellence. Check it out, link below. Like, share, subscribe, all of the things. Back to the video. Like I said earlier, gratitude, meditation, being with yourself, being out in nature, getting rid of any negative emotions or limiting beliefs. So doing change work within yourself. There's multiple ways you can do that. And it's really about being vulnerable, being open, and being accepting. Accept yourself, accept others. Sometimes people go into the cycle to where they're very judgmental. They're either judgmental towards themselves or they're judgmental towards others. People who some people who are like really into being physically fit or eating healthy. So for example, I'm gluten free. I'm really on paleo, a little bit into keto, but I tend to eat more like the paleo style. And there's people who like judge that, right? They're like, oh, why can't you just eat bread? Like, why don't you just eat bread? Can you please just eat this bread? It's so good. Just eat the bread. And they have this like judgment against it because in their model of the world, they're just like, just eat it. The whole gluten-free thing, it's fake anyway, right? Like that's the whole kind of mindset. And then there's the opposite. So then there's people who maybe they're gluten-free or they're vegan or vegetarian, anything like that. And they're like, oh, you meat eater. That's not appropriate. How can you be a meat eater? That animal, you killed it. You killed the plants too, okay? No, I'm just kidding, right? But seriously though, I think plants are alive. I mean, all jokes aside, I really do. So I think either way, in order to survive, we have to kill something. Some people are very judgmental about that stuff though, of like, oh, you ate meat. You can't be spiritual. Mm-mm. When you're in that kind of space, when you're judging someone like that, then you're not being in your heart space. And there's something blocking you in your heart from being able to just accept that person the way they are. For you to just be able to accept them for what works for their body, or for what works for their mind or their soul. So being in a space of judgment can take you out of your heart space. It can keep those blocks up. Because often it's not necessarily that we're judging other people, it's actually that we think others are judging us, and so we have to judge them first. Because if we make ourselves right, then whatever it is that we're doing is okay. So sometimes we have a fear of other people judging us, and we actually kind of become our shadow. So I did a whole video on shadow and stuff like that. You can watch that. But sometimes what happens is that if there's something within us that we're like, oh, that is not me, you can then almost end up becoming your shadow. So you can, instead of just being like, okay, you know, I eat meat, that person doesn't eat meat, that person's evil, right? Instead of like having that conflict, an us versus them mentality, you just be like, you know what? We're both eating healthy. I prefer to eat meat to stay healthy. This person prefers to eat like vegetables to stay healthy. The point is though, we're both eating healthy. So having non-judgment, and then it can also again go to yourself as well. So sometimes people judge themselves, like they're too hard on themselves. Like, I didn't do that right. I'm just not good enough. I should be perfect. I should be 100% absolutely perfect. And I messed up. That puts blocks around your heart because you're not being loving and caring to yourself. I'm going to sit down next to this fire because it's getting a little bit chilly out here. So to review, different ways to start breaking up those blocks around your heart is gratitude, having a gratitude practice, having a meditation practice, doing some sort of change work to release limiting beliefs, to release negative emotions like fear, sadness, hurt. If you've been hurt, that can sometimes have those walls there. Anger can create walls as well. So releasing those negative emotions, releasing limiting beliefs like, I'm just not good enough. Being vulnerable, being able to be vulnerable. Being in the space of being non-judgmental, whether that's to others or to yourself. Well, hopefully it's both. But being in that space of being non-judgmental and accepting yourself and accepting others for who they are and for what they do. And last but not least, always choose love in everything that you do. Like, share, watch, all the things. Love you. Click the share button. It's easy, I promise. So I just tried to capture the sunset, like record the sunset for you guys for the video. And I was so focused on the sunset that I forgot to press record. So, I mean, I have my camera set up and everything, and I did a little bit of filming of the sun before it went down. And like I said, I guess I forgot to press record while I was watching it. So I think that's another awesome thing about the video, or I guess it's another good thing to add to the video though, is to be present, to be in the moment. When you're in the moment, when you're present, that's another way to be in your heart space. It's another way to feel that energy. So I apologize for not filming the sunset for you, and I was busy filling my heart instead. Aloha. Love you. Bye-bye.